Hello, you lovely people, and welcome to episode 17 of the Wittering podcast, where Andy is joined by his great friend Paul, who kindly allows Andy to rant at some length about prepping. And also there's a little bit of discussion about The Accountant 2 and exactly how shit it is. Enjoy the show. Okay.
Hi, Andy.
How's the volume?
Fine.
Okay, right, fuck it. Ready?
Yes.
Welcome to the Wittering podcast, episode 17, where I'm joined by my wonderful friend Paul. I can't remember if we mentioned your surname. I'll leave that to you. And we're going to talk about, we haven't really planned what to talk about, but it's been probably about 10 months since we last did one of these, you and I. Well, I'm sure we'll figure it out as we go along. I just want to apologise mostly to you, Paul, but to anyone who might pick up an element of deep-seated anger, seething frustration. So just spent 10 minutes watching me fuck about with expensive microphones and things to try and get some decent sound.
Just plug and play, wasn't it, Andy?
The freaking web. Sorry?
It was just plug and play, wasn't it? Just plug it in, and it works.
But it was slightly more sophisticated than that, but only just. And I spent sometime yesterday getting it all ready, so I wouldn't waste your time and be in this situation. But if I failed, utterly failed.
So this is Wittering episode 17.
Go on.
This is Wittering episode 17.
This is correct. So we did a Wittering. Well, I did a Wittering episode 15 with Dr. Alex about. I think it was probably. I haven't got a clue when it was, to be honest, but it was probably like 8-9 months ago. It was last year actually, so it was at least 9 months ago. It was probably like maybe almost a year ago. And then when I came up north the other day, I did a quick film night with Chris about The Accountant 2, which we need to talk about actually.
Indeed.
And that I should upload. I forgot about that, and I'm uploading it. Well, I would be uploading it as I speak if I can make the fucking software work. It keeps failing during the encoding process. So my microphone's fallen off. The one that doesn't work anyway. But just in case it does work. So that will be out here. So this is episode 17 and you and I, we started the Wittering, didn't we? So this is one of the it's the original crew back together.
So as the barman said to the large bear, why the large pause in episodes?
I think it's because that's a good question. I think because I lost interest in podcasting.
You had a good, quite an intensive go. You stopped having an opinion that you wished to share, or was it all the faff that goes with it?
Maybe something to do with faff. Sorry?
Or was it all the faff that goes along with it?
This is the most faff I've ever had, depressingly, with a podcast. I think when you say talking to the people, it's like 8 people. And now that my mum's passed, it's 7. So I just you know me, I go through different phases. I get distracted by other things, but I've got something I really want to vent about, and my wife Alice gave me 20 minutes of venting and then said enough, and that's insufficient for me to.
How does she do that? Does she ring a bell, or does she just hold up her hand?
No, it's when the eye roll. The eye roll goes.
Bell, or does she hold up a hand with a post-it note that says, "Fucking shut up"?
No, she's far more effective and subtle. She just kind of eye rolls, and then she doesn't engage at all. She'll push back as a reasonable person would against some of my more emotional outbursts, and then she'll just disengage wisely, and then that takes all the fun out of it.
Could you remember? Do you remember your last emotional outburst that she disengaged with? Just because I think it may be quite amusing to share for posterity. Now,
this is what I want to vent.
Oh, okay.
This is what I want to vent. The one before that, to be honest, I can't remember. I was suddenly thinking maybe there are lots, but this one was particularly strong. I almost had to wake her up to vent. So anyway, It's a good question. I don't know why we haven't done more podcasts. I guess ultimately I see the value of these podcasts as being fun for us, other than the frustration, and then maybe relevant or interesting to our grandkids, my grandkids at least, because they might be interested. I don't think my kids will care too much, but because it's fascinating because now that mum and dad dad's got dementia now, mum's passed. It's kind of like there's quite a lot of questions and just things I'll never know about them. I mean, who they were before they had Simon and they had us quite late. So it's kind of like, and I got snippets of like, you did what in Paris with whom? Mother. There's things that so maybe I quite enjoy that aspect of it when I'm putting these podcasts down.
I think that so a friend of mine, he got in touch out of the blue, and he said he was asking me if there were any more witterings because he was feeling, I guess, particularly irritated with the world and just wanted to hear some amusing, opinionated banter at a level that you don't tend to hear anymore. And so it has that reason. So you never know what may happen over time. I think the Wittering body of work spans quite a broad number of genres, from drunken mates watching movies through to erudite intellectuals unpicking the world and the universe and reflecting on its ridiculousness for others to participate and enjoy in. So it does serve more of a purpose, and it's been fun too. Anyway, so what do you want to talk about?
So, well, I think you make a valid point there, Paul, and I just want to really heighten the quality of perceived quality from my perspective of this podcast by highlighting that Picasso wasn't truly appreciated until he was dead. Right? There's an endless level of creatives and visionaries who were only celebrated and worth more than £4.50 posthumously. So, and we'll never know, will we?
So you're suggesting then that in order for me to really milk this event, when we get to a certain body of work that I'm happy with, you're going to have an accident. Is that what's being mooted?
No, suicide pact. Suicide pact. If we do a suicide pact, because that will, if we do it well, yeah. Yes, on top of a building, maybe. But and then because we can use that our social media crew, which could be like Isla. She could then use that to like launch us through BBC into people's streams and channels, and so
Right.
that might give us the bit we're missing.
Nice.
But okay, fine. Right. But first of all, it's been. How are you? Are you okay?
I'm very well. I'm very well. I feel a little bit exhausted, a little bit emotionally tired, and a bit knackered. You know,
Is that because of the
September.
microphone? The microphone
Sorry,
saga.
not because of you,
Sorry,
mate.
mate. Is that because of the microphone saga?
No. It's just a
Seasonal then, is it?
general end of September malaise. You know, is kicking in.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's well, that's all right. It's not your fault. Or maybe it is your fault.
Yeah,
We'll come on to that later.
it
I'm
could
sure.
be, but maybe it's almost Christmas. It's almost Christmas then.
Yeah, it's probably the cause of it is the idea of some
Yeah.
another sort of ritual satanic consumerism orgy is just getting a bit
Yay.
boring.
But then it's all the indulgence and the cuddles and the warm fire on the inside whilst the wind blows on the outside. That's
Maybe.
okay. Well, I'm fine. Well, I find that the notion of it wonderful, but then by about December the 22nd, I'll be looking forward to January the 1st when I can stop eating and drinking again. And to be honest, Alice and I had a really indulgent summer, and I almost got that sort of January the 28th feeling of holy fuck, I need to sort my life out, otherwise I'm going to die. I got that at the end of summer for the first time.
Oh, that's
So I
good.
don't know if that our indulgent levels have gone up or my resilience has gone down as I age. But anyway, So what do you want to talk about? So I've got two things written down that I want to talk about, and the
Okay,
title of the first one is called Rant,
right.
and the title of the second one, which is all I have, is Accountant Two.
Okay, let's go with that.
So do you have anything written down? I'm just thinking
I haven't
if we
actually.
should provide any.
I haven't got anything that I have like immediately wish to extol or express. So over to
Fine.
you.
So you're being a mate and you're allowing me to vent. Now I'm going to vent. I'm going to do the rant, right?
Right.
Okay. No, I haven't organised what order I'm going to say this in, so I'm just going to try and get back to the point. So the background of the story is that I don't really look at Facebook anymore because I'm almost 50 and should have better things to do with my life. But occasionally, I'll get sucked in, and then within seconds, I'll end up watching videos like little reels, whatever. And this happened about 2 weekends ago. I started watching reels, and the algorithm started delivering to me all these prepping reels.
Okay.
So mostly UK. One particular crew in particular, I forget what they're called, but basically, what I then proceeded to watch for about 2 hours before I could take it no longer was these absolutely idyllic visions of a collective over an area of land in England, nice fields, perhaps a little bit of copse, and they've got water security. They've got food. This is what it appears to. They've got food security. They've got some housing and also and some animals walking around, so like a small holding. And this dude comes on and quite not aggressively, but he's not pulling any punches in terms of saying things like the geopolitical situation of the world is falling apart. World War III is potentially coming. You can't trust the government. Prices are going, all the stuff you like, Paul. Prices are going up. The water quality is going down. There's stuff in the sky and all this sort of stuff, which I completely agree with. It's a shit show in many respects. And then he goes on, and then he goes on. We need to get off grid. You need to leave that life behind, and all this sort of stuff. And I'm going, okay, I get it, and I'm okay, because what I should say in the background is that I'm a prepper as well. I'm not a
Hmm.
full on prepper, but I've been getting my head around it and starting to get the solutions in place since COVID. Okay, so I've got many of the challenges you have. If we look at Maslow's hierarchy of need, the bottom rung is, food, warmth, shelter, water, that sort of stuff. That's mostly covered for us, our little family where we live in our little bit of field and lake and wood and blah 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 with the polytunnel and the borehole and the power, blah blah blah. Okay, I'm also an international entrepreneur.
Are you
Okay, and
a man of mystery?
yeah. I should be, but I got a big mouth. But and so and we have a house that has lots of heating, lots of power, lots of TVs. I've got two cars. I'm looking at a third. So basically, I'm saying that I like both. Okay, I like to be part of the system, and I like to know I can live outside of the system. So that's my perspective when I'm watching these videos that this guy's putting out there. Okay, and then and he's given it such a big one that, if you want to get off grid, contact this, send us a message, get in the group chats and whatever it is, and I'll tell you and show you how to do it. And then I watch a bit more because I know my immediate reaction is it's not easy. Okay, if you want to grow enough food to survive for 3 weeks in summer, then you should be all right. Okay, if you want to grow enough food to survive 52 weeks all year round, it is very challenging. It's a huge commitment. You're basically a farmer, okay? You're having to contest with nature and everything every day in order to optimize and grow your little seedlings into things that you can harvest without blight and that you can store in a way that you have enough food, a really poor selection of food, but compared to what we can get at the supermarket, for those 12 months, for example. You'll have to grow pigs and then butcher them, get to know them by their first name, have the kids ride them, and then slit their throats and bleed them out, and then butcher them, and then salt them because you don't have enough off-grid power to run a refrigerator. Fine. So he said for 2 years, my wife and I, for the sake of our family and also education, and I'll come to that later, we got off grid, we got some land, and we did it. It was so hard. It was a shit show. It took so long to get everything in place, and so it's not really sustainable, undoable. So what you need is a collective, a group, which always sets my alarm bells ringing. But you need a group, and so what I didn't look into too much. I think they have 5 main families and then 60 associated families, and they have these videos of this, like it looks like 2 or maybe 3 fields worth. So maybe like I don't know 9, 10, 12 acres or something of this land, which is organised with the water and the food and the wild stock and the living area and the communal tent where they do their homeschooling. And immediately that makes me hugely suspicious. But and then other prepping channels came on saying you need to get off grid, you need to do this, you need to do that. A lot of the comments that people are going, I would love to do this, but I can't afford the land, I can't do this, and that's a really good point. It's incredibly challenging if you are part of the rat race, which I know there is one, and I am part of it, and have been to a large extent in the past. It's really challenging. It's like if you want to start your own company, but you've still got to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week to pay your mortgage, but you need to like get it because you want to be free work-wise to have your own company, whatever that means. But that's that difficult period when you've got to run them in tandem, and it's just it can break you before you get to the point where you can go fuck off corporate, and then off I go on my merry, but perhaps even challenging in a different way, a journey in my own entrepreneurship. So that's difficult getting to the point where you are resilient enough to live off the land. So I got hugely angry with this because I just don't think it's reasonable for most people that I've ever met to be comfortable. So it's like the Matrix, right? And we talk about this literally. I bring this up literally every time we have a podcast with what's his name, Cypher, who betrays Neo. Neo, who escapes the Matrix and is eating gruel covered in all these like input energy portal apertures, wearing some sort of
Rag.
woolly pubic knitted jumper for the rest of his life, where Cypher's sitting there in finery, warm, eating steak, drinking wine, and I want that. I'm much more. I think most people would prefer that
The
than
blissful ignorance. The
yeah.
bliss,
Even no, but even if you're not, even if you are, you're part of the system and you are working for the man, and
but
you
that's the true definition of ignorance, isn't it? Ignore. So you are aware at a level, but you choose to ignore for the sake of,
yeah.
in this case, like, yeah. So can I just jump back? So 2 quick questions then. So yeah, and you were just getting
Go on.
onto the thing about what's the rant about? What did you find particularly galling about what was being said? But to someone else as well, another quick question is when you
Go on.
said that as soon as he starts talking about communities, immediately I was suspicious. What is it about that all of a sudden rings some alarm bells with you?
Well. I know this is very anecdotal, but in respect of like David Koresh and he's the only one I can think of. But there's sort of the cult piece where you have a group of people who are reliant on a smaller tribe rather than the state tribe. Then I feel that human nature has shown that this doesn't very often work that well in terms of people not being taken advantage of, or there still becomes some form of hierarchical management system that I know I probably wouldn't be. I'm not able to submit to surrender the executive control of myself and my immediate family's chances of survival to someone who might talk a good game or who might be amazing. I'm just not in a position to, and maybe that's weakness on my behalf, is to surrender myself to anyone. I'm not able to be led by anyone. That's
But
why a corporate life.
So in this particular instance, when they start talking about community and stuff, you overlaid your your version or your viewpoint of community, which hence the suspicion. You overlaid that with your concerns and your insecurities of that to say, hang on a minute, that's a bit flaky. Is sort of what I'm hearing.
It could
And
be, yeah, it could be. Sorry.
but what I find interesting is that I kind of agree with the point that, and you, as you already have, that doing these sorts of things is on the face of it sounds great, but it's unbelievably hard work. I mean, we grew a load of Brussels sprouts last season, and it's great. You watch them grow. It's magnificent and all this kind of stuff, and you go, hang on a minute, they've all got to be harvested at the same time, pretty much, you know.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
there are more Brussels sprouts than you can eat. So now you need to process them. You need to keep them fresh enough to eat and enjoy, So every single Brussels that you wanted to keep had to be prepped, had to be blanched, had to be frozen, or had to be done something to. And it get to so there's several things here really. Number one is, to your point, is that it's an enormous amount of work. So in that sense, community kind of makes sense. And then on the other sense is that in order to really do all these sorts of things, you are going to have certain resources at your disposal that at this moment in time we take for granted. But at what point, what are people actually prepping for? Are you prepping for total systemic collapse? Because if you're prepping for total systemic collapse, then you've also got to prep for the fact that the very systems that you put in place aren't going to be relevant, and also the other and that rolls onto this other thing that says, in that event, which is the extreme and highly unlikely in my opinion, but in that event, um, what about the competition? Do you honestly think total
yeah,
systemic collapse, right? The grids go down, everything goes down,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you may be in some small enclave on Dartmoor or something that hardly anyone knows about for now.
yeah,
Okay, what's going to happen
yeah.
when, I don't
Okay,
know,
yeah,
Barnstable go? We've just torn everyone to shreds. We've eaten everything that we can eat. We need to go and you will start to get, you know, that little utopian
yeah,
idea is like on one level, um, it's dynamic in the sense of in the event in the event of we need this prep and stuff. This is what we're going to do. But the scenario you're projecting is also incredibly static. It doesn't do much more than that, and therefore actually applying
yeah.
it to
No,
various
okay,
scenarios, applying it to these various scenarios that may or may not happen, I think is highly unrealistic. And the other thing, and I'll flip back to, because I am
I,
interested in finding out exactly which bit was really rankling you. The other thing I find
yeah,
fascinating, and you've alluded to it, is that everything we try to do, we get pulled back into the system. We get pulled back into the matrix, even if we attempt not to do it. We become the thing we rally against. So the system's rubbish, the rules are rubbish. I don't need told what to do. Da, da, da. Oh shit, we need to set up a community. Oh damn, we need to have rules. Oh right, okay. So who's going to be the rule maker?
yeah,
And then who's
yeah,
going to do next minute? So you'll now become the very thing that you didn't like, but the only difference
yeah,
is that you're now in the position of power. Okay, so it wasn't the system; it was who
yeah.
had
But
the power.
so, yeah. So, Paul, I'm interrupting you because that's exactly what you just said so clearly. What I was trying to say about the whole David Koresh piece, how you I don't want to surrender my executive control to another system because the thing is, when you're living in that sort of system, it's quite small and closed. Okay. And then you're going to get all the human characteristics and natures of like, oh, jealousies and greed. They're there. Okay. I don't care how much of a freaking Buddhist you are. Okay, there are some exceptions, I'm sure, but most my experiences at least are that yeah, there's still niggles and these things. So, but when you're a part of the larger system, which I very much am, and I'm pretty successful at it, and I plan on getting more successful, and within the social system that everyone's rallying against, I work within it. It's so huge. We're just numbers. It's not hard. It's not hard to do well and get by and be ignored and work the system. Like a number of instances, I won't say like where the system can be worked if you apply yourself to your advantage. Okay, and also anyway, I won't go from the fact that it does give people opportunities to make it to that 0.1%. Incredibly difficult, but it does happen. So there is precedence. So what was you said 3 points there, and I hope you wrote them down because the first point, what was that one? Because I wanted to say something about that before I get onto your second point, which is basically the punchline, one of the punchlines of my rant. So it's great that you raised it. But
I was saying about what are you prepping for? What's the point of the
yeah,
prep?
fine. That's good.
Are you
Yeah,
prepping for
yeah,
systemic
fine. So
collapse, or are you
what?
prepping for systemic control?
I don't know. You have to explain what the differences are there. I've never really
Well,
understood what the word systemic means. I know it's based on system, but
okay. So let's rewind. The question posed: what are people prepping for? Are they prepping because they want to have greater independence and greater resilience for themselves within an environment within which they accept and they can choose what to participate in and how to interact and all this kind of stuff? Um, and be aware of the fact that they are always going to be reliant on the system. What's the system? The financial system. We'll get to a point of bartering milk. Well, fucking good luck with that. You know, when it comes, then you
yeah,
got bigger fucking problems, haven't you? Anyway, the system. What are the
yeah,
systems we talk about? Financial system, the energy system, the grid. Okay, yes, we're going to be totally off grid. Okay, that's fine. Who's supplying you with your solar panels? What happens when your inverter breaks? What
yeah,
happens when your pump goes down?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So how
Yeah.
much? Oh,
Okay.
so how much spares and resilience are you going to have? The skill sets you need. At what point are you going to have all your skill sets within your community or within yourself? Or at what point are you going to have to
Yeah,
go out to find a networking engineer or to find a vet or
yeah,
or you know what I mean, or to
yeah,
find an ironmonger because I haven't built a forge yet to make a knife to slit the pig's throat. You know, so
yeah,
systemic collapse versus resilience, and why are we prepping? What are we prepping for? And therefore, what's the demand that's going to be made on people that want to join us? I think that a lot of people are recognizing more and more these days that we need to take more control of our own our own environment, our own happiness, our own destiny, in the sense that the healthcare, for example, doesn't sit with the doctor. Healthcare sits with us first, and then uses all of these
yeah,
various uh, um, um, uh, professions to assist us with it, whether it's naturopaths or chiropractors or surgeons or GPs or whatever it may well
yeah,
be. And I think that I think there is something on the prepper thing that says, hang on a second, guys, what are we doing? We need to bring this back into us, utilizing the resources we have available. I think I get on board with that. And the more you get on board with that, the more you go, actually having a solar panel on my roof maybe makes sense, and maybe a battery makes sense, not for when the world ends, right? But maybe because
yeah,
I if you believe the figures of loading versus electric cars and all this kind of stuff, the grid can't cope. So
yeah,
if there is a blackout, do I
yeah,
want to be the person that's running around looking for a fucking lighter and a candle, or do I want to have the ability to at least
yeah,
have certain things function? That will make sense to me. So what are we prepping for? And so the thing about systemic collapse is, to what extent will the systems around us collapse? Will the power grid go down? That's one
yeah,
type of systemic collapse. Will the governance system end, and therefore crime? All of a sudden, people will go, "Hang on a minute." Will the logistics system collapse? In which case, the supermarkets run out of food in 72 hours. You know, which then will drive the
yeah,
crime rate. You
yeah,
know, will the financial system collapse in the sense that all of those people, and this is a scenario that people have been talking about, all of those people that have come to this country illegally and are getting a payment, automatic payment onto a debit card every month or every week or whatever it is. What happens when that stops? What are they going to do? They ain't going to
yeah,
give two fucks about anything else.
yeah, yeah,
So lots of different systems that can
yeah.
collapse. Total systemic collapse is when they all fucking go. So what are we
Okay,
prepping
okay,
for? I
fine.
think
So,
is the
so
question.
well, I think you nailed it. Is because I think you said something because when everyone tells me what the future is going to look like, I go, well, odds are it's not going to be that because we're statistically really bad at predicting the future. You know, some people get it right. So I don't know, but I mean, I'm aware of I just always think about what's, for example, like in the run up to the Second World War, so 1938, for example, you and I would be having a conversation at the pub, let's say, and then at what point would we be going, oh fuck, this could go terribly wrong, and supply chains would be interrupted. There would be lack of resources, a lack of workforce. We might have to go off to war. There's threat of bombs and failure of utilities and all this sort of stuff. And then nowadays add like internet collapse, system collapse in that level as well, which everything runs off. Just denying timing. So GNS GPS, that's going to be a massive baller. It's very easy for example, Russia to do. So there's no end of sort of science fiction, apocalypse, war, film, sort of narratives that we're all very familiar with. If you watch that sort of thing, it doesn't take much, for me at least, to realize that could happen very easily, and we might be in the run up to it at the minute. If you look at the state of the stock market in terms of defense spending and the value of gold, for example, it does indicate. But who knows? It could just flop back down. But anyway, so whilst I thank you for the explanation about the systemic piece. I think to answer that, basically, I think unless you are an absolutely balls to the wall committed prepper living in the woods somewhere up in Idaho or somewhere like that, where you've been doing it for 30 years, you spent 10 years in the Marines as a survival, like long range patrol survival specialist, and I think the most important thing to highlight here, your expectations about comfort, quality of food, warmth are really low. Okay, so we have to go through this transition period between the level of comfort. I'm a little bit chilly today, Paul, and so I put all the heating on and I've got my socks on and I'm a bit like, my God, I might have to light a fire. But I know when I was younger and I was living outside a lot more and doing other sorts of things, this would be fine. I just get up and chop some wood, or So that's just an example of how your expectations will have to reassimilate to. Am I bleeding from a wound? Have I eaten in the last 24 to 36 hours? And have I drunk some water that I suspect that isn't full of sheep piss, for example? So I
So
think
just on that, I
that
think
that
if,
would be.
so just on that, I think that's interesting because I think one of the things, the bit that I like about the prepping idea is that actually what it gives you is it gives you time to adjust. It's the buffer that allows you to adjust. So, for
Okay,
example,
yeah,
right, the power grid is fucked for they what happened in Europe with Spain and Portugal and their solar grids taking everything
yeah,
out and the rolling blackouts and stuff like this. I was talking to some person who understands all of this sort of stuff, and he said that if that happened in the UK, they wouldn't have had it back up and running 5 days. It would have taken them at least a month to do because of the regulations about what they can and cannot do and all this other stuff, whatever. Point being is that in that scenario that actually happened in Europe, if it happened in the UK,
yeah.
but it wouldn't because we don't have the density of solar and all this kind of stuff. But if it happened in the UK, our grid could have been down for, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, just for shits and giggles, right? Well, that's
Okay,
significant.
yeah, yeah,
Now, I don't believe it would because I think in that environment, in that situation, all of a sudden the rules change and the regulations change what you can and cannot do. It's a little bit like when they said,
okay. But Paul, just say it did.
yeah,
Just say
okay,
it did.
just
Okay,
say it
and
did.
then
The thing,
something that
where the
happened that
prepper,
we couldn't.
yeah, where the prepper bit comes in is it buffers the change. Right. So
Yeah. Okay,
if
that's
you've
good.
got
I like
solar
that.
on your roof, and let's say you're in the middle of winter, and let's say it can only give you power for 4 hours a day as opposed to 24 hours a day. Okay, but it buffers the change, right? At some point, you
Yeah,
we will adapt to a new level of normal or misery. All of a sudden, dot dot dot, which is
exactly.
exactly your point, isn't it? It's
That's
like,
that assimilation.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So
absolutely.
that's where I think the prepping really
So,
works. Is that, and hopefully it
yeah,
will take you enough that all of a sudden everything kicks back and everything's fine. But if it doesn't, you've got the
yeah, yeah,
buffering of change where you can suddenly go from your TV dinners and your pie and pint at night to shivering around a lump of coal, wondering whether or not you need to drink your own piss, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right, Paul, and I think you put it really well there. Um, uh, so, so right, so this dude, right? Okay, just going back. Sorry, were there more? What was it? Yeah,
No,
there's
no,
I'm coming to the second point at the end. But so this dude saying, well, look, and it makes sense. You know, we need to get a collective together. You know, which always gives me the shits. And then we need to do this. All the pictures and all the videos were probably filmed in July. All the sun's out. Let's make the video. Get all the kids dressed in summery clothes that reminds people of the '60s. And you know, let's show. Don't show the fucking ankle deep rivulets of slushy mud that you have to go through every day to chop up some wood that actually leaked. The thing leaked a little bit, and now you've got to blah blah blah. And, you know, this is on our little bit of land. This is very seasonal, okay? And it's like, oh my god, I'm not going out in that. Let's just turn the power on because we've still got it. That sort of thing. So I don't feel that for that example is particularly representative of the shit you have to go through, collective or not, in order to achieve the position where you're eating pickled or like passata, which is nice, and pickled eggs or something, or no, not eggs, but you know, your cured meat or something, whatever
pickled
you've done to get you
brambles.
through the periods of time when yeah, rambles, yeah, fine. Now you're talking. So yeah, so that got me very wound up, but because and I started saying that I accept the fact it's not easy to get into the position that I think we're in, whereby we're highly functional. I mean, we're white, we're middle class, we're very lucky in that respect. We're highly functional in terms of the system, as in while credit score is really good. If anyone looks at us, we look like highly functioning and contributory members of society and all this sort of stuff. But for whatever reason, when the shit does go down and these systems that you very eloquently talked about collapse as a whole or individually or whatever, then we are more resilient. We have that larger period of assimilation to lower our expectations and also to learn again. So basically, what I'm spending most of my money on, other than a massive 4x4 off-road truck with a winch and a snorkel that has always been missing in the prepping arsenal of our household,
Indeed.
is books. Just like, and this is 25B from the tip. I prefer SAS Survival. Now I know a lot of this shit, okay, because I've been into this shit for ages. But it's nice to have the book there just to remind me how to gut a rabbit and things like this. And then I've got a suture practicing kit, so you can practice sewing wounds shut. And these things aren't a huge amount of money, and they provide me with anxiety relief, to know that they're there, and they could come in useful. And none of them are really going off. You know, nothing that we've got. So the investment is kind of either just held in equity, or the food which we will eat on a cycle path like tin food is cheaper now than it will be in 12 months or 24 months when we eventually eat it. So we're actually saving money. So that's the sort of. So I'm saying, my reaction when watching these videos was, you need to have a balance. It's not easy to get to this position of balance that we are in, I believe, whereby functioning highly in society, if society falls down to any extent, our chances of sustaining ourselves are probably, I'd say, 300% higher than the average person, who hasn't really thought or hasn't done anything about this. I also got very vented about this dude, and I respect him for it, but it kind of ties into perhaps my suspicions about the group, in that, how do you sustain revenue? Okay, if you want to live completely outside of the system, as in you don't go and buy things from shops like shoes for your kids, like clothes for your kids. Otherwise, you're going to the shops and you are in the system, like you were saying. How is that? I don't think that's fair on the kids. Now I know you can say, "Oh yeah, but we're giving them real liberty." They're off grid. They're not a number. There's no biometric record of them. Okay, fine. And they've had no vaccinations. Don't get me started on vaccinations. Fine. Good on you. Good luck. You know, as long as they're eating healthily, their chances may be okay. I don't know. I'm not a complete professional in medical terms, but I don't feel that that's necessarily fair on the kids. I want my kids to be able to turn on the PlayStation and fly drones, as well as know how to use a knife to whittle something and shoot a rabbit in the back of the head, as it were. I want them to have that balance. But how do you achieve that truly if you don't have any financial, as in fiat or digital currency, that allows you to function and exchange stuff, money for goods and services in our society? So I don't, you can't. I know how much I know farmers. I know how much they get paid for their crops. The amount of crop you're going to be pulling off your self-sustaining land once you've fed yourselves and put that stuff away for storage. Let's go to the farmers market and sell like 2 pigs every month. That's a lot of pigs to sell every month for like 60 for like 5 families and 60 more supporting. You're not going to get that much money off a pig. It's not going to do too much. So this guy is doing a lot of quite professional videos. He's monetizing his channel. Okay, so he'll be getting money in from all the people going, yeah, sign me up, yeah, this is great, well done, and all this sort of stuff. That's all right for him, and he might spread that money around. But when the system goes as well, when the YouTube goes down, also, so I found it. I just, maybe I'm completely missing the point and ignorant about how this could be sustained. But I can't think of an angle whereby you could genuinely live properly off grid, and also, they then go on quite a lot about slagging off the curriculum, the state schools, and all this sort of stuff. And then they pull out that old Rockefeller quote. It goes, I don't know verbatim. It goes like whenever it was when he like
I
funded
don't
the
want the
U.S.
nation
school
of thinkers.
system.
I
He
want
said,
a nation of doers.
yeah, they'll native the doers or workers or something, okay? And they're like, look at this, the entire fucking school system that you subject your kids to, those of you who don't educate at home, that they're going to be numbers. And yeah, okay, fine, right. So COVID, I did some homeschooling. I am smart, okay? It's nothing to do with me. It's genetics, and I had a good education. Okay, it's genetics. I won't bring the education.
And you had a
It's
good
genetics.
education, did you just say?
Yeah, yeah. Let's kill that for now. But so I've been given good material. It's nothing to do with me. I'm very grateful for it. And I've kind of wasted quite a lot, but I've done some stuff with it. But when it came to teaching the kids off the curriculum books, and they were like 6 and 4, however old they were, it wasn't algebra or advanced Pythagoras. It was quite basic stuff. It was fucking hard work. I had a newfound respect for teachers, for the patience they must have to exert in order not to smack these. I didn't hit my kids that often, but I did. But just not to lose your shit on these little twerps. Why can't you get that? Okay, so I'm not a great example of teaching material,
Right.
granted. But when you get to sort of like secondary schools and you're at home, so first of all, it comes back to the money piece. How if you're not completely off grid and just self-sustaining yourselves with really low expectations about never having a pair of Nikes for your kids ever again, how do you have time to educate your kids properly at home when you're working 9 to 5 jobs? You know, my wife is a scientist. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't do that much work, but I don't have enough time to dedicate to educating the kids. Plus, I can't do it very effectively. But also, I'm not an advanced mathematician, nor did I go through like past common entrance or GCSE geography or history. You want specialists, surely, subject matter specialists to impart not just what it says in the curriculum. Right, today, for the book for the homeschooling parent, me, hello. Today you're going to teach your kid this sort of stuff because you can't just pluck 14 books off the shelf about the Napoleonic Wars and you can just reel off the deeper narratives and the actual relevant points in the historic passage of time. So you're going to have to go off a book, right, to give the kids some instance of history, the real history, as it were. And so you're just basically helping them recite. I may be missing the point. I look forward to someone saying, no, you've got the wrong end of the stick. And they say it's just about cramming. It's just about knowledge retention. Knowledge retention is really fucking useful. And they go, it doesn't teach you to think disruptively or creatively. It kills your creativity. Now, Paul, I'm going to bring you into here because I had a standard curriculum education. I think you maybe did as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine. So if anyone wants to come to me and go, Andy, you're not creative, I go, fuck off, because look at this, and this. And also, I know this, and this historical precedent, and I know that about Oxbow Lakes, and I know this about how you model something in order to get, like, the Bayesian curve or whatever, blah blah. I know this because of my state education. I'm not an expert at it, but also I create stuff all the time, just like you. We can't help it. And then people go, well, that's because you maybe got that type of mind. So, fucking, that's, you got to work with what you're given. If you're given with a sort of mind that makes you fit into, you like, I've got friends at some of the corporations I used to work for who finished GCSEs, got an apprenticeship, and they've been working in the shop floor. They're now managing the shop floor 40 years later. They're fucking happy. They're part of a family, done really well. They go holidays. They do what they want. They could do more. Maybe they could, but they're quite happy. They're really happy, and they've got this amazing um, output for these 40 years. That's hugely impressive. It's something to be proud of. You developed this system and you built it and improved it. That's all you've done with your life. What the fuck have you done? So it's not going to be right for everyone. But so when it comes to the homeschooling piece, that gets me right. And then as soon as you get the homeschooling like brigade going, I can't believe like in 2020 there were like 850,000 American kids homeschooled. Today there's 1.9 million. It's the wave of the future. If you're not doing it, how can you look at yourself in the face in the mirror as a parent and all this sort of stuff? And then they go, okay, fine, all right, okay, fine, yeah, right. And then they go, and those people who say that, well, kids are missing out on socialization because that's not true, because we go to after school clubs and also we spend more time as a family together and more time with your parents teaching and all sort of stuff. And then I'm like, okay, fucking right. First of all, right, just because your kids are going to state school, yeah, it doesn't mean you can't spend a large amount of time with them, okay, in the mornings, in the evenings, and the holidays. Get a job that you don't have to commute through, because these guys are saying, they must have lovely setups where they can spend, or at least one of the parents can spend most of their day teaching their kids. Okay, so someone's doing really well, or they've got low expectations, or a bit of both. So someone's working the system, or there's some advantage there. So fuck off with that. And then they go, but our kids are not. And then I looked into the statistics. Homeschool kids are far more empathetic and more level-headed. This is what the stats seem to say. Okay, I didn't do a lot of research, which is wonderful. But all I know is that our kids, over the 8 weeks of summer holidays, where we went, we go on freaking badass holidays and caravan holidays, which are also badass. But you're intensely together, and then they're just on screens for like weeks at a time because the parents are working and we've got better things to do and we want to do other things. And they hang out with their mates and they do school clubs and all this sort of stuff. The day they went back to their schools, right, which are just state schools, they came home buzzing their nuts off, absolutely flying. They were just talking totally mad stuff and just off on, so energized and just mental. It's like, Jesus, Alice and I were looking at each other going, holy shit, should we like tie them down for a while? There was no doubt that the return to that larger group dynamic, with all its risks about bullying and peer pressure and all the shit you get in life, okay, once we leave school, they're still okay with it. Some of it's going to be rough. Some people get bullied, and then you come. I got bullied for like 6 months. It was pretty bad, but it was really useful, and and all this sorts of stuff. So I got me really. So again, it's like they're going, you must homeschool, otherwise it's a balance, motherfuckers. Because when like Huxley came home from school yesterday, he's what, like 10 now. He goes, oh, I said, how was your day? And he goes, oh, well, it was really, half of it was a waste of time because we had like double RE, religious education. I was like, oh yeah, tell me. I was like, yes, brilliant. But then I was like, go on, tell me more. Why? And he goes, and he starts banging on about religions and how it's all flawed. A lot of this is what I've given him insight of. I haven't told him this is what you must believe. I've always said this is what I believe. I didn't always believe this. Is what I believe at the moment. And all these religions are clearly man-made and generated to answer questions we couldn't answer at the time. And now we can have a better odds of answering them. Maybe we should be doing something else. And blah blah blah. And he says, and then he went off on one. And then it actually turns out he is actually highly religious, but he believes in the Grim Reaper. Actually, a character, almost like the one from Terry Pratchett, comes along, and he's got all these things. And he believes in reincarnation because he wants to come back as a lizard. And then we had a discussion where if he came back as a lizard, he'd be really happy. But if someone else who doesn't like lizards came back as a lizard, he'd be really miserable. And so you almost get your heaven and hell there. So it was this amazing conversation from a state-schooled, screen-watching fucking kid who's got balance because his parents give him the bits, and I've said from day one, just because your teacher's a teacher doesn't mean it doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. You should respectfully engage with them, but just because they've got a degree in geography and they're teaching you something about, they could be wrong. I'm probably wrong all the time. So you question your dad all the time, not too much, and not about chocolate, sort of thing. So that was kind of like
So I
the rant, and that's why.
I
But hang
think.
on, I've almost finished, and then I'll shut up. I
Oh,
will.
okay, go on.
I'm gonna. Sorry, hang on, because you're going to get, because you've already got to the one of the punchlines straight away, because you're very astute, aren't you? Obviously. Okay, right, fine, calm down, and Andrew. Alice has rolled her eyes like 18 times in 20 seconds. So right, I'll stop talking. But then what really I had to say one more thing, and it's exactly what you said. If you get to the position whereby you are more sustainable as a small tribe because of preparation that you have done for whatever element of systemic failure that you have to endure, you then become a target for those who haven't spent the time or had the wherewithal to protect themselves in terms of resilience and that sort of stuff. So then, and then, the whole maxim about 3 hot meals or 6 hot meals, society starts crumbling if after the failure for it to deliver 3 or 6 hot meals. I forget what it is. And then we start looking, shit, we got to look after our tribe. Fucking hell, I got to look after my kids. I know that because he's got a big mouth. I know he's got a polytunnel and loads of carrots. I better go over and get him. And so these people who live on this farm in this sort of estate, community estate. Sorry, community estate. I saw no infrastructure that is suitable to house legal weapons. So shotguns, rifles. There's no structure there that would pass a firearms or shotgun license inspection. So they've got this wonderful place that's just going to be walked through when the social norms drop. Okay. So during COVID, when I started getting the itch and I recognized what it was to prep, the first thing I did was apply for my firearms and shotgun license. So because if you've got all these other things, even in a wonderful balance, like lovely big TVs and big cars and stuff, but also like off-grid power and water and food and a fishing lake, and if you haven't got weapons, then human nature will chew you up and shit you out. There you go. There we are. That's it. Thank you.
And breathe. I think I detect the thing that most rankles you about what you were watching was being judged, was like being held in judgment, like to say, because you're doing this, don't you realize that the schooling system has been manipulated and exploited for other ends, other means? Don't you realize that, you fucking moron? You should be homeschooling your kids. If you're not homeschooling your kids, you're bad. You're a bad man, right? And this thing is that so 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 let's split this up a bit and recognize that the education system has been fucking hijacked, that quote from Rockefeller was correct, that the national curriculum has been developed for a certain thing, that basically says what you can and cannot teach in school, right? And the problem with that is it does remove discernment. It does remove the ability to question the official narrative, which does breed people that says, if something of a greater authority tells me something must be true because I got an A star in my report or whatever the fuck. So let's recognize that is the case. Let's also recognize that's the case for everything: religion, your job, financial affairs, health. I mean, health is a massive one. Health and pharma, same thing. Rockefellers, manipulation and control. Why did they do that? Whole set of rabbit holes you can go down. But the point being is yes, we recognize that what Matey said is indeed the case. And people that may believe in the school system, the sanctity of the school system, and is actually there to develop leaders for tomorrow, to develop children that are resilient enough to participate in the world, they need to have a fucking think about what are the skills that you need in your 20s that you fundamentally were never taught at school. You're not taught how to sell anymore. You're not taught about how to manage your financial affairs. You're not taught how credit cards work. You're not taught about any of that sort of stuff. What are you taught about? You're taught that you can have multiple genders. You know what I mean? I know that's the extreme, but what I'm saying is, right, what I'm saying is that the
Yeah.
idea that the schooling system is not there to do to orchestrate things on the macro level, I think is incredibly naive. That being said, right, it provides a need at the individual level that I think is very, very valuable, and I think it's definitely something that should be um, the parent should be aware of the child's interaction and the child's enjoyment and the child's stuff, and it's part of their overarching education. But when you get to the point where everything becomes polarized, black or white, school bad, you asshole,
Yeah.
right, you moron, you should be
Yeah.
doing this, you're going, hang on a second, what are you trying to get? And you said it absolutely right. It's about getting the balance right. And how dare anybody judge anybody, you know? And here's the thing, right? The world's gonna end. You need to prep. If you're not doing this, you owe it to your children,
Yeah.
and we nurture heirloom seeds and all this kind of stuff, and la 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 la. We've got our own seed
Yeah.
bank, and
Yeah.
right, we've
Yeah.
actually adapted. We've been eating larger and larger doses of poison ivy so that we're immune to it. Just stupid shit, or not. Point, point, point I'm trying to say is that okay, that mate is your choice and everybody's choice to do. That's what a free society is. You can hold people in judgment all you want to, but just be aware of the balance that we're striking. I thought that your story, your little story about your mate who worked in a factory, got an apprenticeship, now he's running the shop floor and all this kind of stuff. Oh, you're such an asshole. Oh, you're just a pawn in the game. It's like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
His choice though, right? His choice about where he chooses to push his boundary, his choice about where he chooses to have his happiness and his enjoyment and his contentment. I heard this great definition of what success is. And success is about
Go on.
you are progressing and growing within the vision of what you have for you, right? So if every day we're
Okay.
progressing and
Yeah.
growing in the vision of what I have for me, that's successful.
Yeah.
So the very idea that somebody is holding me in judgment for what I believe to be true, and let's face it, we're here
Yeah.
temporarily. This is a moment and an experience in time, being alive. So
Yeah.
our whole point is to exploit our experience to feel all the emotions, and some of those emotions are not desperation and misery, they are happiness and contentment, as well as creativity and intuition and all these other things, right? So imagine that the
Yeah.
prepper community get to a place where they never have to exercise everything that they were prepping for, versus the guy who's running his factory shop. He's the factory floor manager. The arc of his life is lovely. He gets to the end of his days. He's retired. He's got great kids, nice family that are educated in the system, that believe that doctors are good and they're there for their healthcare. But everyone's happy and healthy. Bit of type 2 diabetes, whatever. I get to my days. Then he gets to his days. He dies. He's content. He's happy. He's never needed to go and understand how to find dry wood in a forest when it's been pissing down for 6 weeks. And he's never needed to.
Yeah.
His choice, right?
Yeah.
So I
Well,
think
it's
there's
like it's like Cypher.
right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I would say, look,
It's a
here's the
bit like
difference.
it's just
Here's the difference in that analogy, though, Andy, is that Cypher
go on.
knew he was
Yeah.
in a very dark place. He knew he was
Okay.
transacting his soul. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like people that
But he
know
wanted to
they're
go back and have that memory removed.
Yeah, right. He wants.
So that's even more of a.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry,
No,
I was
go.
going to say that's even more in support of I want to get back into the system and have no knowledge that it is a system,
Right.
which might have nefarious requests.
But just on that,
Um,
right? Just on that for me, right? So
yeah, of course.
in that instance, Cypher wanted to go back into that part of the system, but the people that are so adamant about what they believe the world really is, to the point whereby they are inflicting it on others under the guise of empowerment, right? You are literally inflicting a different type of system on someone else.
Yeah, that's so well put, Paul. And the notion that I think you're quite right as always. You see straight through me. I did feel initially a little bit judged when I started watching those videos. You know that I do send my school to a state school, and I'm not fully off grid. In fact, I'm fully engaged in being a highly functioning member of the matrix. Um, and I was like, very quickly, I was like, yeah, fucking, so what? Bring it on. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it because I'd blow you out of the water, mate. Because I've got best of both worlds. Um, but then I started feeling really bad for all those people in the comments. I hope this isn't patronising. Who aren't as lucky to be in a position that I am. Who might get taken advantage of. Who might lose perspective on the importance, I believe, of balance in and out of the system because they then get the fear and the anxiety about I must live in fundamentally like a off-site caravan sort of thing, and eking through. It's fucking hard work. You look, there's a few other people I came across who, over like 12 years, bought some land, forested it, struggled over water. They were this guy. I mean, these people are exceedingly, extremely badass human beings who are happy to live in the cold in their sort of static caravan with a newly born baby for 5 years. Okay, and with a cold box on a fridge, with it's in the mud all day and things sinking. It's horrific. And now they've got a fairly idyllic location. It's like 12 years, and if you want it that badly, then absolutely fine. But I started feeling bad. I felt that we should. This is why I want to do this podcast, and I probably haven't put it very clearly. But there is an yes, it takes time and money, and you've probably got a 9 to 5 job, and you've got your kids you got to worry about. But it is doable. I've done it to a point where you can have both. So you're hedging your bets, if you will. There's no reason I believe why don't you don't get to go to Disneyland. Plus, if the Russians invade, your chances of survival are higher than most other people's. You can have that balance. I just feel that voice needs to be out there rather than this sort of extreme and actually quite honest, as you say, well, it's just a proponent of another system that's less comfortable, ultimately in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and is a fundamental preaching that was fucking winding me up. And what I will say, what you raised about the balance about education is that, I didn't put it very clearly, but I'll have another go. You send your kids to state school, they get the systems education, which will hopefully help them go through the system if they so want. But for the rest of the time, and if you don't spend your life as a number, getting up at 6, kissing your kids goodbye, or no, they're still asleep, commuting for 3 hours, so an hour and a half there and back, working an 8-hour day, having no energy and no time when you get back to see the kids, sort that out, because I get up before the kids, I wake them up, I drive them to school, I pick them up, we then hang out with them whilst they still want to hang out, or they can't tell me to do one because I'm a teenager dad. Fuck off. And hang out with it, and all that time, like today, I was talking to them about homeschooling. I said I'm about to talk to Paul about on the podcast about homeschooling. Just what do you guys think about the school and what you learn? And then I highlighted to them at the weekend. I just become good enough artist to earn money, not a lot, to earn money on a Parisian, okay, maybe not Parisian, maybe like Sheffield Bridge somewhere. She might like for sketching. She did a portrait of her mate in like 20 minutes when she had the sleepover, like the weekend. It's brilliant. And Huxley, he came up with this new religion. These are, and I'm telling them about. they go to psychotherapy once a month, so they're developing the tools they won't learn at school about how to manage the challenges and the ups and downs you will, I hope, they go through in their life, and how to manage it, develop the resilience and the mechanisms. They have their own little bank cards, and we give them a bit of pocket money. They do some work. Isla was working at 12 the one of the tourist things for a lot of the summer. So and discernment, as in, don't believe what I tell you. I'm wrong all the time, kids. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to teachers. Take it all and filter it in. So there's that homeschooling element. You can do both. You don't need to, you know, fucking go off grid for everything right now, fuckers.
Well,
Sorry. Thank
yeah,
you.
no, it's good. My sort of general takeaway, my general distillation of all of this stuff is beware the collective, because that's where you lose your identity. But your collective is everywhere. The collective is
Yeah.
the collective is in politics. The collective is in work. The collective is in your football team. The collective is in whether you're a prepper or not. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be participating in what the collective does, because otherwise you're a hermit, and your human experience and your human existence and your human experience is worthless. So we have to be part of the
Yeah.
collective. Just we don't have to participate as if we are one of the collective. So, like,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
remember hearing people talk about, always maintain, always be the curious observer. Always, even if you don't have to be vocal about it, always challenge and question and be discerning. That doesn't mean you reject everything. It goes through another filter to go, does this feel right now? You know, uh,
Yeah.
I may really enjoy going to church and singing hymns in a magnificent cathedral or whatever it may well be. Uh, but does that mean I take on board everything to do with religion, everything to do with that particular religion,
Yeah.
on faith, blah, 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 that sort of stuff? That's probably a poor example, but the point being is that I think
No. That's good.
we need to my takeaway is we have to participate in all of these groups. And there comes a moment in time when a group with a common reason for being a group, hockey, pub darts, whatever, there's a
Hey.
moment in time where that group becomes a collective because they have a unified experience and a unified expectation of what being part of this group means. The rules, the clubhouse
Yeah.
rules, whatever it may well be, and great. We have to do the dance as the individual within collectives all the fucking time. We have to, and that comes back to this thing about saying, we have to participate in the system. The idea that you can remove yourself and unplug yourself from the system is ridiculous, because even in the Matrix, when you get removed, you still have to participate in the system because it's all around you. Because even when you're
Yeah.
outside of it, it
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
it finds you. You cannot unplug.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Yeah.
and therefore, judging people for not unplugging or judging people for doing it the way they want to do it, I think is missing the point. Right? Everybody should be applauded if you can be an individual within the system within which you want to participate in, and not lose yourself in it, or recognize that
Yeah.
your thoughts only become your thoughts when you overlay them against your discernment and your viewpoint, and realize that your opinions are purely an idea that you've held on to, you know? So
Yeah.
continually challenge, continually grow,
Okay.
and then you can do that dance and be authentic to you. I think that's the thing. And if that means that you want to put solar panels on your house, you want to dig a borehole, and you want to you want to do all this, so great. If that means that you're going to be a company man and have a retirement and have great. Because ultimately it's about being true to your authentic self and what you believe the world to be, but recognize that you don't want to give
Yeah.
that authentic self away to anybody. I don't want to give it. I'm not giving it
Yeah.
away to a government. I'm not giving it away to a political party. I'm not giving it away to a group of people that tell me I'm a moron for not homeschooling my kids. Do you know what I mean? That's my takeaway from
Yeah.
that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So well put, Paul. That's beautiful. The collective, the notion of existing within and outside collectives. That's wonderful. So I got two things to add. So that mate, and then we should go on to the film because we shouldn't make this too long.
Yeah.
So so that mate who's institutionalized and ended up on the shop floor, he's now he left that in good time and is now a small holding farmer doing rare breed cattle.
Nice.
So there you go. There's that. And the other thing you've just helped me realise, and I can't believe it's taken me so long to realise this, but using Matrix as the analogy for as we do quite as I do a lot, and we have today, I've suddenly realised I am Neo. Okay, I walk between the worlds. The reality bends to my proclivities, and it's very liberating to realise that at last. I
Keep
can
staring
also
at
do high
spoons.
kicks.
Keep staring at spoons.
Yeah, absolutely. But I can do high kicks to about the same level that Neo does when he does that kick and then he cycles around and it's just above square. All right, Keanu, we love you.
Nice.
Right, oh look, that neatly moves us on to films. So, so Paul, thank you because I ranted very well, that was very cathartic for me, and you distilled it. Thank you
It was
into
fascinating.
great
I
stuff.
enjoyed it.
So your turn next time. Um, so when the last film night we did with Chris, you've never met Chris in person, have you?
No, I've never met
No,
Chris.
fine. Um, what? Just a Chris or the Chris? The Chris.
I have met a Chris, but I've never met your Chris in person or
Fine.
otherwise.
No, fine. Okay, fine. Well, we have to rectify it at some point. But so I went up north to spec out my truck actually. To Staffordshire Truck Company. Oh yes, is that the right
Nice.
side? No, here, this side. Anyway, so he went up, and then he's up in Yorkshire now. He's moved to Yorkshire, and so we met up in an Airbnb. And the plan was that because we love The Accountant, the Ben Affleck film of 2016 or something. Okay, we love it. And then The Accountant 2 was coming out. Huge excitement. Let's save it until we're together again, and then we can watch film night. So this just conspired, reality conspired, so we could go and watch it. And we watched it. I said, I'll tell you what, let's do a film night on it because we were going to have a few beers, so it would be quite fun for us. So Chris was like, right, let's do it. So we got there. We did an episode 16 will be uploaded by the time this is. So we'd had before we watched the film chat and then watched the film and then had a post-watch film chat. So we strongly disagreed. We absolutely. So can I ask, what do you think of the original Accountant? I know you've seen it.
I very much enjoyed it. I didn't. There are aspects of the film that I kind of had to put up with, all the backstory stuff.
Okay.
But really, about kind of sort of all the growing up thing, but I understand its need to lay that scene and feel empathy for and understand the relationships moving forward. I get all that stuff, but the bits that maybe I should put it like this: the bits that I really enjoyed are watching the person exercise this precision, forensic, detailed deployment in the sort of the financial analysis and that whole side of things, the intellectual deployment, juxtaposed to the physical deployment, but they all both come back to the same place, which is a highly owned acumen that's deployed very highly efficiently, and having that in play, and it being very very balanced between those two worlds. And also I thought the exploration of the characters were also quite soft and subtle, as well. It wasn't just all like punch, fight, kill, stab, and all this kind of stuff, So it was a nice. It was. I thought it was a great composition of a variety of of different juxtaposed aspects. But really, I yeah. So I liked that sort of the smarts in it, and how the film
Fine. So score out of 10.
unapologetically delved into and exposed the smarts of it, rather than it just all being
Yeah.
about killing
Yeah.
someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 So sorry. So yeah, well put as always. Score out of 10 then, please.
About 8.5.
Oh, see, I'm surprised because I'm still going to be your mate, but I got quite upset there where you were slagging off the flashbacks, which I thought were absolutely brilliant. I thought they were wonderful little windows into key pivotal moments of development that explain so much without being a massive sort of pain in the ass to watch. I thought they were brilliant.
I agree.
I
If I
don't
may
understand.
say,
I
if
don't
I may say,
understand why you don't like them. I'm still going to talk to you. It's okay, but I don't understand why you gave it 8.5. I don't understand how you can give it
I
8.5.
agree. I agree because, and I'll uh, so I've seen the film twice, and
Okay.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying about the flashbacks. I think the reason why I'm not a fan of the not it's not I'm not a fan of the flashbacks is just I wasn't as engaged, right? And the reason why I wasn't as engaged says more about me and my baggage than it does about the film itself, right? So
Oh, good.
I'll give you
Okay, interesting.
a film that I would give, if I remember back to when I watched it, like the first time I watched it, a film I would give like a 9 or 9.5 or a 10 to was Gross Point Blank. You know, as a
Oh, yes.
right. So for that, that's almost like the very first time I watched it. I there was nothing wrong with it. I thought that film was so good, so layered, so entertaining, so fast, so interesting, so actiony, but so everything else. So it didn't
Yeah.
quite get to that level. Anyway, so that's the reason for it. But I
Okay.
appreciate
Fine.
you wanting to honour the accountant. So tell me about the accountant too. What did you think of it?
So yeah. So first of all, just Accountant one, I've watched it. I think conservatively 12 times. Okay, so that's more than once a year since its release. I'm not. I'm kind of Affleck's okay. I kind of like him. He's kind of good actor. He's not a favorite actor of mine, but I thought portraying the neurodiversity of the character, and I thought it was brilliant. I have a brother, a real brother, who's very close in age, and he's my best mate. I love intensely. And I thought the scenes, the last scene when they're in John Lithgow's house, and basically they're fighting each other without realizing it, and then it comes to that realization. That's only maybe 3 minutes long, but the the amount of brotherly exchange, concern, and care, despite a lack of empathy, potentially on Affleck's character's behalf, that that was one of the most powerful portrayals of that brotherly sibling relationship that I've seen. Plus, there's shitloads of guns, which is he doesn't like that. But I thought it was brilliant. I think it was quite Anna Kendrick was brilliant in it. I loved the maths, like you were saying. I loved his forensic breakdown of the accounts with the pens, and I love that shit. Deployment of neurodiversity advantage, whatever. It's just a badass, man. John Lithgow's brilliant. John Bernthal, is very good. And I like the way at the end of the film, on the sofa, he and Anna Kendrick almost got to a point of where he might have got a kiss, or they might have established a relationship, but at the end he sends her the Pollock or whatever it is, and he's going in his Jetstream, Airstream, whatever, across the bridge, perhaps into Canada. Who knows? That's To me, that's not a Hollywood wrap up. It's a bit of a Hollywood wrap up, but it's pretty realistic. And then so I loved it. I thought it was subtle yet fucking full on, and it ticked a lot of my boxes. So I scored it 9, as did Chris. And so then we watched the film, Accountant 2. And I can't remember, I've only watched it once and I will never watch it again, I imagine.
You enjoyed it
Within
then?
about half an hour, I was I was in a pool of of disappointment, just splashing around, trying to drown myself in 1.5 inches of lukewarm milk, of just the milk of crap. Because it was clear that they decided to leverage the brand and turn it into a bang bang shoot shoot, with no real nuance and realism. So the bit in the bar when he starts learning how to chat women up, or he starts getting that level of engagement, he's like a giddy school kid at the end, and maybe that's realistic, but to me it just didn't sit with the character. So I'm not going to go through the film, and we can the Accountant too, because I don't think it deserves anything other than our just a huge feeling of disappointment. Chris, we then had a few beers, and then we finished filming episode 16, like the second half. I was so demoralized, and then Chris gave it. I think I gave it like 6 or 5, which was generous, and then Chris gave it 9.5. He gave it
Nine.
0.5 more than the original, and I just couldn't believe it, because he's my brother. He's a brother from another mother, and we normally just have a. And he goes, "But Andy, it's all about brothers." Like when they're drinking on top of the Airstream, whatever, the Airstream caravan. He goes, "That's such a powerful piece about brothers." Why? When John Bernthal goes, "Why didn't you look me up?" And I'm going, "Are you mad?" Because that's exactly what the conversation they have in that 3 minutes in the middle of a firefight, in the height, and they get it, condense it perfectly into 3 minutes, rather than this set scene fucking after the last set scene in the bar. It's just ridiculous. It's utterly shit. It's hugely disappointing. And that was it, really.
What
And
does
and
just
then
have interest is your view of the Accountant 2 aligned with the general reviews that it had, or the general reviews that
that is
had more
a
side with
really
Chris?
good question. Hang on. Let me look up Rotten Tomatoes. It's a really good question. Rotten Tomatoes, Accountant 2. Let's see what they get. I should do IMDb. Accountant 2, 216 reviews. What have we got? I accept. So it's got 75% on the tomato meter and 92% on the popcorn meter. I don't know what that means. Let me go to IMDb. IMDb Accountant 2. Accountant 2 has got 6.6 out of 10. I gave it, I think, a 6, so I'm okay. Let's just go to Accountant 1, shall we?
Yeah,
An Accountant 1 gets a 7.3. That's wrong, okay, but it's at least higher than 6.6.
I thought
So when I
that
used to work in the video, go on.
I was going to say I thought that the Accountant 2 was just a waste of everybody's time. Waste of the time writing it,
Oh yeah,
waste of the time
that's right. I
people.
forgot
The
to ask
only
your opinion. I'm sorry.
That's right. It's a waste of everybody's time, and the only people it didn't waste was the financiers. It was just, it was almost like, have you guys actually forgotten the premise of what you're writing about? You know, you just like you've replaced the sharp accountant with Jack Reach. No, not even that. You replaced the sharp accountant with fucking John Rambo. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he's gone from
yes,
some smart, erudite, paper wielding forensic person that can do his thing to some it's just a big
yeah.
bang
I
shoot 'em up thing with no realism, no subtlety, no smarts, no intelligence, just tedious bollocks. So yeah, I can imagine if
yeah.
you had
So, John, I'm sorry, I'm in trouble. So John Rambo, as you say, and I think that's spot on. That bit has just made me think of, would John Rambo, so Affleck or Wolf or whatever his name is, in Accountant 2, would he have said something like he said to the detective at the beginning in one of the flashbacks of Accountant 1 when he goes, "Are you a good dad?" Would he have asked that subtle little question, "Are you a
right,
good dad?"
right,
Yeah, I don't think he would have done. So I think that's really well put. It's not the same character, Christian Wolf, I think, or whatever his name. So
yeah,
Paul,
yeah.
I do apologise. What score? Accountant 2.
Oh, like a 3.
Ah, yes, I think that's better. I feel bad. I gave it a 6 now in public.
Yeah, it was just
It
shocking.
should be wit.
Shocking.
Really bad. Okay, well, should we so I that was it. That's what I wanted to rant about. Thank you very much for allowing me and then allowing me the space and the patience to do it without interrupting. I wish you're very good at not interrupting and then crystallizing and distilling it down to things that if anyone listens to it, that's probably what they'll take away from this. Paul's
It's
Paul's
been it's been
Paul's
it's
output.
been it's been hugely enjoyable, and I look forward to the next one.
Well, let's do the next one. But you've got lots to rant about, I think. I mean, I don't know if you do, but I just know when you do rant, it's hilarious, and I do hear rant from you quite often
I'll
because
develop a rant. I'll develop a rant for next time. I'm sure I'll figure something out, and we can kick off proper styly, and then hopefully by then I would have had my fiber fixed, and I won't have quite a tiny. I've
oh
got a
yeah,
tiny bit of a lag, which is one of the things that's getting in the way a little bit,
okay,
but it's all good.
oh fine, okay, roger that, yeah. Well, when we should do one like next to each other because it's much better because you don't the interrupting doesn't really have as much effect.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's mostly me interrupting you, obviously.
Hey, by the way,
And also, it might be more like
I'm assuming you can cut this bit out now because I'm assuming we've kind of done the wrap up bit and you can, chop some
no,
stuff.
no, this bit will be in it. This bit will be in it
Will
because I
it?
can't be asked to edit it at all. So
Oh, all
this will
right,
be in
fair
it.
enough.
I was just going to say that if we're next to each other, it might be closer to our phone conversations
Right.
because they just spark and go places. They're hilarious, I find. So
And also, I think
I
maybe
think a podcast. Or,
if if we do that, or when we do that, we should just sort of have the thing just play recording, and we just chatter and just see where it ends up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure
Yeah, let's do
I'm going
that.
to be down your neck of the woods at some point, just for some client meetings and stuff like this. So I'll be sure to give you a shout, and we can talk about those sorts of things at some point over the next 6 weeks or so.
All right, wicked. That sounds cool. I've actually got to go and do some international mystery stuff, but not much. But yeah, let me know, and that'd be amazing, as they say. All right,
Lovely.
should we sign off?
We sign
All right,
off.
cheers.
We'll catch
I'll, I'll,
soon, Andy. Always a pleasure, dude.
yeah, thanks, Paul, man. Big love. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, mate. Bye now.
See you.